California. How's it going?
Pretty darn good. How's it going out there in Indiana?
Hey, not too bad. We got nice fall weather. We've got our I don't know if you call it our Indian summer going on because it's 1st of November and we're looking at high 60s to low 70s by the next couple days. So it is going to be nice. I'm going to need to jump out there and get the leaves raked up. So
All right.
see if we're rocking over here in the group yet. Yep, good to go. Okay, hey, the transition into going live is getting a little smoother, so that's good. So welcome everybody to Guys Reselling. I'm Jeff with JBNet Treasures is my YouTube channel, or you're seeing me on the our group Resell Treasure Hunters, and Chris is with us again today, and he runs all the tech stuff behind getting us up and going, plus his own business needs as well. And it just gets crazy. Schedules get crazy regardless, but now we're heading into the holiday season big time. We got Halloween weekend out of the way. Now, Chris, I know you sell a lot of stuff that's kind of associated a little bit more towards Halloween, but did the Halloween sales jump up for you?
Yeah, they did, but they jumped up right around mid-September.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
So it tapered off the closer you got into the Halloween weekend?
Yeah, basically, well, because of the time it takes to ship it, most people want their stuff so that they can have it for Halloween. They're having guests over and they want the candles going and stuff like that. Um, so yeah, like mid-September, once we got, I want to say 5 days away from Halloween, sales on those items dipped dramatically.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I shipped my last, what I would consider Halloween. Oh, it was a Halloween costume. Maybe got it shipped the week before Halloween, and everything else has been pretty much just normal stuff from there. So that's
Mm-hmm.
cool. But yeah, we're talking holiday schedules today. If anybody's joining us, make sure to say hi in the chat. We'll try to catch up with anybody that's watching today. I got ahead of myself, or didn't get ahead of myself, and didn't prepare and get messages and emails out to everybody for today. So on my end of thing, but again, busy schedules. Here we go. It's
Mm-hmm.
Monday. Um, well, no, it's Tuesday. Sorry. See, I'm so out of it already. I'm getting the wrong day. But yeah, first couple of days of following a big weekend, and we got to start looking at. Hello, Ruth. Start looking at what we're going to make sure we're staying on track and focused and all that fun stuff as things get crazy. Yes. So, what did you have any thoughts or anywhere you wanted to lead the chat today, Chris? I got like 5 tips that I came up with, but didn't know if you had anything laid out.
Oh yeah. Basically, try to save yourself from getting overwhelmed, especially if you're hosting relatives for any length of time, or you're throwing parties or something like that. Um, be sure to give yourself plenty of time to get everything done, and take into mind that traffic is going to increase dramatically as we get closer to those gift giving holidays. Um, so give yourself a lot of extra time.
Yeah, for sure, especially for those of you that live around the bigger city, higher concentration of people. For me, it's not that big a deal unless we go down to Indianapolis or over to Lafayette to the big mall over there. Then traffic becomes an issue. But yeah, you got to really plan your day out. Today was a good example of trying to get it all done in a short amount of time and not really planned as well as I could have. But I made it back in time to to get here anyway. And yeah, that's definitely a high point to contend with. Traffic's bad enough for you guys in the bigger metropolitan areas. And it just gets crazier as we go, for sure. As far as reselling, billing, and thinking about that ahead of time, my first thought is we should have been prepared prior to fourth quarter. Anybody that's been reselling for any amount of time knows when fourth quarter is going to hit. Sorry, just reading the chat there real quick. 9 times, I mean, you want to be prepared for that ahead of time. All the sourcing, summer sourcing that you can do, going to the yard sales, garage sales, building up I don't like to call it a death pile, but maybe an opportunity pile, so that you have, especially for those of us that live in the out here where it gets snowy in the wintertime, we usually don't have too much trouble prior to the Christmas holiday. It's usually after the first of the year before we see heavy snows, but just things like that. Weather can influence, the day. And if we have stuff already ready to go to be listed, then that's going to save you a lot of headache along the way too. Where's Ruth coming from?
Malta.
In California?
No, in Europe.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
It's probably really late over there right now then?
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's late or early for them.
Yeah, could go either way depending on where you're at. Sorry, I'm eating my Halloween candy corn.
Oh, it's late. It's like it's 10 o'clock at night over there. There you go.
Okay, that's not too bad.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some other obstacles you think that we run into as we get into the holiday season, Chris? Do you have any on top of your head?
Oh, there's a ton of them. Mm-hmm. Basically, if you're going to want to survive and still be profitable, you're going to have to get very, very organized. I recommend lists, having a daily list, and setting alarms in your phone, because you'll have to do things at certain times, set appointments, pick people up, drop people off, whatever's going on. You're going to need those alarms to remind you of what's going on your phone. And you can coordinate it with either a handwritten list, or you could use a list on your phone as well. I know the iOS for Apple has lists that you can create with little tick boxes. So when you finish a task, you just check the box. Hey, that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, there's plenty of apps out there. There's a couple of apps I can suggest if you're using Samsung products or on the not on the Apple, but on the other stuff. I've got a notepad right here that I could make a list on. A cool little app that I use to remind myself about listing every day is called Ask Me Every? I think that's it. And it will email you every day and ask you a task that you need to get done, especially if it's a daily task like listing or sourcing or cleaning, prepping, getting ready to list, those kind of activities. And it'll email you every day and ask you, did you do that? And you have to tell it yes or no. And then then you send it back by email. And then at the end of the week, it will send you what you did for the whole week. So if you forget to, reply to it or whatever, it's just going to show up as an X that you didn't. But you may have done it that day. You just didn't get replied to the Ask Me Every app. Anyway, it'll show you in green a check mark, and it's kind of a confidence builder also when you've got a weekly, every daily everyday project to work on, at the end of the week, you can look back and say, yeah, I was actually productive this week because I've got green checks all across my my app here. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I was just gonna say, do the thing you hate the most first. So when I first wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is pack the orders that came in overnight in the morning. I get them all packed and ready for pickup. And then I start listing. And when I'm done listing everything, that I've taken pictures of, then I'll start taking pictures. And that pretty much ends my day. Sometimes there'll be some orders coming in when I'm pretty much done with the reselling work. And I'll go ahead and get those packed just to get up a little head on the next day's stuff. So, just write that down, pack orders, list items, photograph new items, pack straggling orders, done for the day.
Yeah, that should be every reseller's dream schedule. And whether you do that first thing in the morning or whether you do it, if you have to get up and go to work, to your regular job or whatever, or other things take your time away in the morning, you definitely want to have a set time that, hey, at 6 o'clock, come home, take care of whatever needs to be taken care of real quick around home, and set yourself a time at 6 o'clock. I'm sitting down getting that done. I've got to take care of this business, and then I'll be free the rest of the night. Or if, like Chris and I, we can do it in the morning, so we knock that out in the morning and frees us up for the rest of the day and other activities. It's funny, I always like to talk about this stuff because I'm terrible about a lot of things with time management. And yesterday, was it yesterday? I don't know. Anyway, I realized that paperwork for me is the one thing that I don't like to do. So I've got it scheduled to do it first, but I have let that go all of October. October the 8th was the that I put any information on my for items sold and all that stuff you put into a spreadsheet. And so I spent all day, or not all day, but the majority of my morning this morning doing all of my October paperwork so I could be done month and then start looking at my numbers and analyzing what we needed to do next. So that, I always like to talk about this stuff when I'm the one that is not, I'm the one that made that mistake, so I can say, don't do that. It's no fun. Get up, and once you get up and once you get to that time that you can say, okay, I'm working on my business now, then stick with the plan. Sometimes I think I get excited because it's like, okay, I got to get these orders packed up, and it's like, oh, and I totally forget it. I honestly space completely doing the paperwork that I need to do. And it's been a problem of mine for a while, and now I'm caught up for October. I've got my stuff for November ready to go, and started on my November today. On the 1st, I've got my paperwork done, so we'll see if we can keep that going. And I need to put that into that app I was talking about, so that it emails me at the end of the day and says, "Did you do your paperwork?" There's a lot of people that love doing the numbers and love doing data entry and stuff like that, and that's just a no-brainer for them, but not me. I'm not that type of a person, but it has to be done because I don't have a secretary to do that for me, or I don't have a virtual assistant or anything like that. That would be something to add to our how to handle busy schedules, is you could always look into a virtual assistant for some items, but not everybody's ready to hire out somebody to do that.
Well, especially if you're talking about your financials, you may not want a virtual assistant digging into something like that. You might want to hire maybe like a local bookkeeper.
Yeah.
Because if you're that busy, if you're so busy and you have so much paperwork, you're considering hiring someone, whether a virtual person on the internet, in a far off land, or whether it's the accounting firm down the street. You can afford to hire a quality person to do your books for you. Because if you're that busy, you're making that much money, the tax man is going to come a knocking. Okay. I mean, I don't know about Jeff, I don't know about your post office, but when I walk into my post office, they have an eBay section, a big sign with an arrow and these bins set up just to take eBay orders at the post office. Well, if the post office is doing that, what do you think the IRS is doing?
Yeah.
Hey, this is my point. So
exactly.
if you're making enough pocket money to where you're going to hire someone quality, someone recommended by a licensed CPA firm, or maybe your lawyer. Because if you're in business for yourself, you need a lawyer and an accountant. Mm-hmm. You need those two things to protect yourself and to protect what you're building. Sure. But we got sidetracked here a little bit.
Well,
so let's get back.
Yeah, I mean, it is, but it's sidetracked, but still, it's an important part of scheduling and getting through the rough spots of rush, because there are a lot of resellers that do hire the virtual assistants, but they normally hire them for taking pictures or actually listing the items. I've heard a few people talk about if they have somebody local to hire to help with the shipping, if they have, massive amount going out every day. Some resellers do. And that right there, shipping can take up, if you're, if you got 20, 30 items going out every day, then that can take up a lot of your time. So the virtual assistant is a possibility for somebody with a bigger business that needs that little bit of extra help. But yeah, not so much with paperwork. You and your accountant, I totally agree, should handle that. But there are other items within business that definitely a VA could possibly help with if you're ready for that. I'm not ready for that. Chris isn't, he could be possibly ready for that, but we're too hands-on. We want to do it ourselves and make sure that that things are being taken care of. But I mean, that is it's a possibility depending on the size of your business and where you want it to go next. So,
and plus, I'm kind of cheap. Well, so if I don't have to hire someone to do it, I won't.
Right. It's actually funny we brought that up about an accountant. I'm trying to find an accountant right now. My guy got thrown in jail.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
On a number of different things. So we're looking for a different guy. I reached out to a guy that I know that he actually sold on eBay, sold trading cards, baseball, sports cards and stuff, but he's full up right now. So he's kind of keeping an ear out for me too, to tell me, refer somebody to me at this time. But yeah, we're having fun with thinking about that too.
Baseball cards are a great niche, but it's not what it used to be. So just keep that in mind. If you get into it, do it because you love it, not because you think it's going to get you rich.
Yeah. I think I bought a bunch of baseball cards there down in Florida, and I don't know if I'll be able to do it or not, but a couple of the sellers that I watch that there's a lot of the Pokemon card kind of popular, the superhero Marvel, there's a lot of different trading cards out there that can be fun to mess with. But setting up your list the night, that's something I wrote down. And again, it's something that I don't do regularly, and I need to. But Chris was talking about the getting up in the morning and having your set list to do. It does make a big difference if you write everything down before you go to bed. That's one of the things you got to add to your list. Make my list for tomorrow so that you can stay on track. Because just like was it yesterday? Yesterday I got up Monday morning. I've got orders that need to be shipped out. I've got stuff that needs to get done, and I had no internet. My internet was down for a couple hours. So I had to flip flop my schedule and got stuff done around that I could do without the internet, and then get the rest of it done when, thankfully, the internet came back on. But yeah, setting up your list the night before so you have a pretty good idea. And I think a lot of us fall into the trap of, well, I know what I got to do. I got to get up, but I got to check on my shipping. I got to get some things cleaned up, prepped, and I got to do some lists. Or I got to go to work, and then I got to come home and do that. But it can really get away from you if you have something that you can check off as you go through the day. Even if you may go through 2 or 3 of your steps that needed done, and then you can take a breather and come back and say, okay, I got this, this, and this. Okay, what's next? And it psychologically it helps to motivate you to go ahead and get that stuff knocked out. Again, kind of like we were talking about earlier, what's the stuff you don't want to do the least, and go ahead and get that done. Knock it out as fast as you can. Get that check mark on there, and then it just helps to motivate you to get the rest of your stuff done through the day. What's something you do, Chris, to help you out with listing? I think you mentioned it earlier, but what's your thoughts on working ahead to be ready for those next couple days?
Well, so when I list, the thing that takes me the longest is taking the pictures. So when I tried, like for today, the last thing I'll do in reselling is take my pictures for tomorrow. And I will pull out about 20 different items, sometimes 30 different items, and just start taking those pictures. I try to zoom in as close as I can with them. So I do as little editing later as possible. The goal is to take the picture and have it perfect, and you don't have to edit it afterwards. But that normally doesn't really happen. Also, I like to edit. Yeah, I like to edit all my pictures square. I like to make sure they're all square and they're all the same size. So I usually end up editing most of my pictures. Although lately with these new phones, you can set them so they take a square picture automatically. Oh yeah, and because I use a tripod, you can even set the exposure to allow more light into the aperture, so it's
Nice.
a brighter picture. Yeah. Um, but on the expensive items, we're going to want to remove those backgrounds and keep them white, and that's all time consuming. So I try to do that ahead of time so that when I go to list, I can get those listings up with as little problem as possible.
Yeah, I would expect anybody that's watching today that does reselling or watches this episode in the future, comment below on what is the one part of listing that you feel takes up most time. Taking pictures doesn't necessarily mean it's the thing you don't want, that you least want to do. It's just more of, is it the most time consuming task for you as a reseller? I can definitely guarantee it is my most time consuming task. I've talked to Chris several times or fussed about my pictures. Of course, right now my camera's on my phone is not in real good shape because I broke the lens right here, and I think it's the zoom lens. I can't zoom in very well anymore. It gets blurry pretty quick, so I have to mess around with that. But yeah, getting yourself in a position to take pictures as efficiently as possible, and yeah, the editing afterwards. I just know I'm going to have to do it, so I just take them as best I can. I'm going to have to edit just about everything out to get it to look right. Um, maybe you can do a demonstration, Chris, at some point on taking pictures, on how you do it, and give us the correct measurements and things like that we can take note of. But definitely for me as well, taking pictures takes the time. The one thing I did want to ask you is, how do you like to store your pictures? Do you just leave them all on the phone and transfer from phone to listing, or do you upload them to the computer and you have special files that you upload to, or how do you do that?
So I have a directory called merchandise, and then I have that directory separated out into categories, like books, comic books, action figures, candles, so on and so forth. And then I have one file called doc. And what I do is when I'm done taking my pictures, I just transfer them over to my computer, just using the Wi-Fi. It's pretty quick and easy. And once they're in that doc file, then I can go ahead and manipulate them, work with them. A lot of times I'll rename them. And when I'm finished and they're ready for listing, when I'm finished listing them, I'll put the pictures in their proper folder on my computer. And the reason why I do that is sometimes I'll run out of stock on something, and I could be out of stock on it for 2, 3, 4 months, and all of a sudden, boom, the supplier gets in a new shipment. I put it in order. Now I've got some to sell, but they haven't been posted in quite some time. Or a lot of times eBay, because if you use eBay inventory and you haven't listed something in quite some time and you go back to list it again, they'll drop the pictures. They'll drop the pictures from your inventory. Your everything else will be there. Your title will be there. Your description will be there. But I think because the pictures take up so much room, that if it's inactive for a certain period of time, eBay just drops the pictures. So you
They
always
run that on, do they run
Mhm.
that on like their 90-day situation? That's how they seem to run everything, is on 90 days at a time. You think it drops after
Honest,
90 days? Excuse me a
yeah, I'm
squirrel.
not sure. I'm honestly not sure on how long it takes. I just noticed, um, and I've noticed this for a couple of years now, um, that when I sometimes, I'll forget about a product, or a customer will ask me for something that I've sold before, and I'll find a way to get it again. And I'll go to eBay inventory and the pictures are completely gone. And he's like, oh, where are the pictures? Because for me, that's the most time consuming thing. If I don't have to retake a picture, I won't retake a picture. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a huge thing for me. So I make sure not only are they all on my computer, but they're actually backed up to the cloud as well.
Yep. That's a smart way to do it, to especially get everything categorized out like that. Now, myself, I'm nearly as organized as Chris is. Um, Most of my pictures, this is one of the things I've been trying to fix on my store, is to go back in and edit pictures that I just threw up there and let them go. Trying to be in too big of a hurry to put quantities of listings up instead of quality listings. And so now I'm spending that time going back through and um, spending way too much time on editing my store. And if I would have done it right the first time, I wouldn't have to do that. So that right there, I mean, we're already into the holiday hustle and bustle. You're going to start, you'll feel it more and more every day. So this may not be the right time to go back through and try to edit everything. You may want to just go ahead for right now, going through the holidays, to just slow down a little bit on your listings and make sure you're putting up quality listings to make the most. Those are going to get pretty quick anyway. Newer listings always get looked at a little bit more than something that's been sitting there for 4 or 5 months. But yeah, I mean, just until the holiday, once the holidays are over, we get into that little bit of a slowdown time, then maybe you can go back and start slowly revamping the store, editing what you came across and noticed. That's like, oh yeah, I got to go fix that.
Now, I have a quick cheat for you guys. For you all out there who have stale listings. Now, I know we don't like to use the term or hear the term stale listing. But if you have a listing and it hasn't sold in like 4 months, it's probably stale. And Jeff's going through and he's fixing his description and his pictures and noticing that they're selling. Um, Now, there's a lot of truth to that. There really is. But if you have a lot of listings up right now and a bunch of them are stale, this is a quick cheat. Really quickly, you go through your listings. If you have listing management software, it can be a little bit easier. But you end the listing and then you relist the listing unless it has followers. If the listing has followers, you do not want to do this because it's destructive. Even a stale listing, if it has followers, do not end it because you will lose those followers. And then you have to get new followers. Now, you're like, well, they've been followers for 4 or 5 months and they haven't bought nothing. Okay, I understand that. However, if you make a little change, if you just change 1 or 2 characters in the description, a space, anything, and you save it and tell it to, relist, not relist it, but when you save it, it goes through and it says, oh, changes have been made to this listing. Okay, this listing can be classified as new. It won't put the new listing tag on it, but it'll put it at the top so that people start noticing it again, as they do with all the new listings. They kind of showcase when you put something up new or you change something, they kind of highlight that and they want people to see it. So now it's relevant again. And you've got about, I'd say, another 90 days before it goes stale. So if you do that in the next couple of days, you're going to be good until after the holidays.
Yep. We used to, at least I always remember it being described as the bots or the little spiders that crawl all over looking at stuff, and they're running into, we've already been there, done that. But if you go in and make a couple of changes, I don't, does pricing do that too? Because we always used to talk about changing the change.
If you change the price, if you drop it even a little bit, there's a minimum. I think the minimum is like 5%. But if you have something up there for $10 and you drop it 50 cents, that's going to be the new buzz. They're going to tell everyone you drop the price on this. They'll even email your watchers for you saying that the price has been dropped. Yeah, dropping the price is the best way to liquidate dead listings.
Or go the other way. 50 cents higher can sometimes make it too. I mean, it tells everybody that there's been a change, and they're like, oh, crap, I was going to buy that. I better get it now before they raise the price anymore.
Yeah.
Especially if you're dealing with vintage stuff, the longer it sits, the more vintage it becomes, the more valuable it is as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, and like Chris was talking about, when you make those changes, those little spiders, those bots in the algorithm are out there looking for that kind of stuff. And one of them, they come across it and say, oh, there's a change. Okay, we're going to relook again at this listing, and it's going to refresh a little bit, at least, that there's something going on there. So time saver during the holidays for sure. If you see some items there, do a little tweak every once on a few of your staler items and see if they get up and go. So good deal. Good deal. Let me find my notes here. I keep flipping out of my notes.
The most important thing you can do is make your work time sacred. Because this is the time of year, more so than any other time of year, where you're going to see relatives that you haven't seen in a long time. You're going to see friends you haven't seen in a long time. There's going to be a lot of emotions flowing. So if you don't want to completely blow this season, you're going to have to make your work time your sacred time. So if, cousin Billy Bob calls you up, you haven't seen him in 10 years, and you're going to go to the monster truck pulls, but you haven't done your listings for the day, you should do your listings for the day. It's sacred. It's like if you have a job. If you miss work, you don't get paid. This is the same as that, but worse.
Yeah, just because you sat around an hour and looked at your store doesn't mean you're going to get paid for that hour. You've actually got to do the work. That's a mindset thing right there. And I always reference a lot of times the groups, people, the way people say things or put things out there, Facebook groups, and a lot of it is just having the business mindset of you own your business. eBay is just the platform that you're running, that you're selling stuff on. If eBay is it might be Posh, it might be Mercari, it might be Facebook Marketplace. Doesn't matter, whichever platforms you use. But the mindset of this is my business, this is my job doesn't exist for a lot of the sellers out there. That's why you see a lot of them fussing and fuming about silly things all over these Facebook groups. It's like, okay, fine. If you're just out there as a hobby seller, making a few extra bucks for the holidays or for vacation, whatever your goal to do is, then okay, fine. You're just a hobby part-time, every once in a while seller. But if you're out there trying to put the work in to be a business every day, then that mindset has got to switch and not get upset about all the fussy little stuff and take the time, as Chris is talking about, to get in there and do the work that needs to be done. It has to be a priority. I mean, there's just no getting around it. If your goal is to list 10 items a day and it's 9 o'clock at night and you got sidetracked talking to cousin Billy about the tractor pull, monster truck, whatever, then yeah, you're going to have to stay up a little bit later that night and do your listings. So
yeah, it's
with the holiday time as it's going to be, got to get it done.
Yep. What the heck was I going to say now? Sorry about that. It's just sometimes I get these brain farts where I just lose my complete train of thought.
Yeah. Well, see, here's a perfect example of not having my list made out like I should have for today. I've got a customer who contacted me yesterday about a golf bag, and I told him that I was going to check on the numbers today to see what was up, what would be the best way for him to buy it as far as shipping charges, because golf bags are expensive to ship. And I didn't have it on my list, and he just messaged me. He's being nice about it, so it's cool. But I've got to make sure I get him taken care of after we get off this call. So just another example of taking care of your time management right there. If you ever want to know how not to do it right, just follow me. It's all good.
Actually, it's good that happened because I didn't mention it. I didn't have it as a part of my daily routine because it's not something I do every day. I get a problem customer maybe once or twice a month at the most. Most of my customers are pretty, they're pretty awesome. They don't give me any problems whatsoever. But customer service, holy crap. Customer service has to be number one. If somebody asks you a question, which is why you want the eBay app on your phone. You want the app on your phone. Because if someone asks you a question, you want to get back to them before, I don't know, at least within 24 hours. I mean, at the most, and everyone's going to understand, a mistake has been made or you were a little tied up or something. But yeah, customer service should always be at the top of your list. Do it before you do anything else.
There's a seller out there. I don't know if Chris knows him or not, but Tech and Sports is what he goes by. I think for everything, his business. I think you can look him up under that store name, even on eBay. I think I've got him saved somewhere, but he is the largest seller of men's clothing on eBay, bar none. He has, I don't know how many employees he has, but they put in like 100 to 150 items listed per day, and he expects to sell at least 150 items per day. And the majority of his items are all just men's clothing. his time management is spot on. He has, not only does he have his eBay business, but he has some other things that he does as well. And I mean, he's just one of those guys that's just a workhorse. It's like you think, like, do you ever sleep? No, he works all the time. But he mentioned customer service several times. I listened to him on podcast, and that eBay app is your miracle tool to handle things as you go through the day, whether you're off running errands at the grocery store, whatever the case may be, and somebody sends an offer through, and it takes 10 seconds to stop, look at the offer, and decide whether or not you can accept it, or if you need to uh, counter offer, or whatever you want, whatever you're going to do with it. Somebody asks a question, it takes 10 seconds to message them back and say, hey, I'm away from my inventory right now, give me an hour and I will get back to you as soon as I'm able to. That kind of a situation. So this guy had messaged me later on last night, and that's what I had done. I said, I'll look at the numbers for you, but it's going to be sometime tomorrow before I can look. Well, I dropped the ball a little bit there by not having a note to remind myself. Lucky he messaged me back, so I can go do that as soon as we get done here. But yeah, that eBay app, and that also brings up kind of another, or not kind of, but another thing that you can be doing during this busy time is using that eBay app when you have dead time, when you do have that in between time, whether you're at the doctor's office, whether you're standing in line at Walmart waiting on the Christmas rush and it's going to take a half an hour before you even get to the cashier. Whatever it is, wherever you find a little bit of space in your time, you're in between, you can't really 100% focus on this or do that, but you can get on there and maybe you could tweak a few items. Maybe you could double check a price while you're double check a research. Maybe you've got it in the back of your mind, it's like, oh yeah, I wanted to check on such and such. So maybe you can do a little Google research while you're or on your eBay app research, and or you could even do some sourcing, looking at stuff, especially if you're at a retail store. There's always, as we talked about on our last chat last week, the retail arbitrage. There's always stuff right there that you can be scanning with the eBay app, saying, "Oh, there's some stuff there I could probably pick up and make a couple bucks on." So there's always something you can be doing, even in your dead time. I know you can't go 100% of the time. No, you get burnout, but there's a lot of times through the day that you can help yourself out just by having that eBay app and saying, "Oh, I've got a few seconds here. Let me check on this or that." And who knows? Maybe you're waiting. Maybe you do have to sit there and wait for half an hour. If you're somebody that's okay listing on your phone, you could list a couple of items too if you have your pictures saved. And I don't recommend listing on your phone. I prefer to do it on the computer. But there's a lot of people that's how they do it. So, and they're semi-successful with it also.
I also like to do it on the computer because the description will really help you. The better your description is, the more likely eBay will side with you if there's ever a dispute. Because they look at your pictures, they look at your description, and they see if they match up, and they look at your previous history. So just kind of keep that in mind. But yeah, I do it on the computer as well because I will do it to 3 platforms at the same time.
Right. Yeah. Definitely. If you're cross posting to different platforms, you've got to be able to do it that way. The other part with, and you mentioned it before too, is the mobile app. A lot of people are shopping your items on mobile. No doubt about it. Your buyers are on the mobile. So on the seller side of things, you got to really watch, especially like Chris said with that description area. There's a description line in there that doesn't even show up on mobile. If you don't have it talked about down in the bigger description area, and they have to click extra clicks to get into that description area to begin with on mobile. So titles and pictures and price are top 3 things that have to be spot on because so many people are shopping you on their phones. They're not always going to get that extra information especially if they're making, I call it knee jerk buying decisions, where they get on their mess while they're doing their dead time, waiting in line or waiting on the doctor or whatever. They're shopping on their phone, and oh, that looks cool. Oh, that's a pretty decent price. Bang, I'm going to buy it. And the next thing you know, you got problems because they didn't read the description for something. So always good to have, like Chris said, have that description filled out. And if you're cross posting on other platforms, you just about have to do it from the computer for sure. Do you do you take listings and just go live with your listings as you're doing them, Chris, or do you put them into a draft and then pop them in there when you get everything done?
I used to do it that way, but now I just do them one at a time.
Okay.
The reason I thought it was better to just do it in mass, I thought it was a lot more efficient. However, the problem was I was trying to get up, 20 to 30 listings at one time, and a day would slip by. A day or two would slip by. And now I'm starting to miss my listing goals because I'm trying to get them all up in one chunk. So I just list as I go, just because I want that listing to get up there as close to taking those pictures as I possibly can. You don't want like, because I think I was using it kind of like as an excuse. Let's go post the listings. Well, I want to get to 20 or 25 first. And then, okay, so now listings aren't going up. So yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah.
So, and I'm only thinking this out loud, with the topic that we're talking about today. I feel like it doesn't matter whether we're holiday season or not. You set yourself up and say, I've got 10 listings I've got to get done. That's my goal for every day or whatever. That's my goal for today. I would suggest, just a thought, that we go ahead and list maybe 2 more items, maybe 3 more items, and draft those extra 2 or 3 items for those rainy days that something comes up and, oh man, I'm not going to be able to hit them. I only got 5 listings done today. Then you can go back and look at your drafts and say, okay, these next 5 that I have in my draft, I can at least put those up with what I got done. Or, if something really crazy comes up and you can't do any at all. When I went to Florida last 2 weeks ago, I didn't have a lot of drafts put up, but I had enough to put 1 or 2 listings up per day just to kind of keep things moving a little bit. So I would say it's not a bad idea to do a few extra if you can. Make it a goal to, okay, I got my 10, let me do 2 more that I can draft and set them aside, and then you can come back to them when you need them. Might help you get through some of the holiday rush as well. Yeah, I was curious about the doing the, I'm going to list 15 today, but I'm going to put them all in draft until I get done, and then I'll unload them at o'clock tonight or whatever time you want to do them. And with you being on multiple platforms, I didn't know if that worked either.
No, especially being on multiple platforms. I really like to do them one at a time and make sure they're done right within the platform. Because sometimes it looks great when it's in draft, but then it doesn't look so hot in live mode. Mm-hmm.
Right.
I've had that happen before. That's all I got for today.
Cool. I'll throw one more thing out there. The biggest thing that we've got to remember going through the holiday season, and sometimes this takes a little bit of extra thought. You may need to analyze your business a little bit and figure out what is the one thing that you can focus on every day, especially with this rush holiday season coming at us. For most of us as resellers, it's the listing. That's usually our one thing that has to get done, because without new listings going up, new money, new sales are not going to necessarily happen. So as you get ready to go into the rest of this month, looking forward to the holidays, you've got your research, you've got your sourcing, If you're going to go sourcing, which is another area I need to work on, and is to map out. I figured out today because I was ahead on some listings. I had some pictures banked and stuff like that. I was able to get through my listings pretty quick today, and I had time to go source, but I didn't have a plan to go source. So I was running around town and didn't accomplish a whole lot. And there are other places that I would have liked to have gotten to too, but I didn't plan that out. So that's part of the planning, especially during the rush season. Map out. Chris has talked about this. Him and I talked a lot offline, and he's talked about how he maps out and they spend a whole day out hitting the places that he needs to hit. And of course, if you go to places like a big estate sale or something like that, that takes some time to go through and make sure you've looked at everything that you might be able to buy. So research sourcing, map out your sourcing, and then really analyze your business and say, okay, what do I got to get done today? And if listing is that number one thing, well, this other stuff has to happen. You have to have the items so that you can get your listings done. So just kind of plan your day around those 2 or 3 tasks, and everybody should come out looking pretty good. You'll have new inventory, and sales should start picking up. And consistency. If you set a goal for 10 a day, do 10 a day. eBay picks up on that. The algorithm picks up on that.
All right. I'm glad you mentioned sourcing because sourcing, especially this time of year, can be really, really tricky. What do you say next week, next Tuesday? Do you want to do a sourcing secrets one?
Sounds good. That works.
All right.
Yep.
Perfect.
Lots of things to talk about on that. All right, guys. Appreciate anybody that stopped in and was hanging out with us today. These sessions are recorded, and of course they're in our groups automatically, and then we upload them. Well, Chris has already got his on his YouTube channel, but I upload mine to my YouTube channel, JBNet Treasures. And Chris, what's your YouTube channel? Is it Success with Chris?
It's branded that way. Unfortunately, I don't have a custom
URL for it.
Exactly. So the URL is YouTube native.
I think mine is too. I don't think I have a custom URL I do for my marketing YouTube channel.
Okay.
But I don't think I have one yet for my resell YouTube channel is a newer channel. So I don't have all the sparkle and glitter with it yet right now. So, but yep, we're easy to find. You can even go on YouTube and look up Chris's name. You can look up my name. You'll find us in one way, shape, way, form, or another. And I've got the Resell Treasure Hunters Facebook group. If you want to check that out, just again, you can search that on Facebook to find that group. And Chris, you don't have a resell group right now. Do you have a page or a group with your Facebook? I don't remember.
Internet Marketing Simplified.
Okay.
That's the Facebook group, and we talk about everything in there. Everything.
Yeah. That's one neat thing about this business is we are online marketing. We're an e-commerce store with our reselling, but we are online marketing. We are marketing to people out on the internet to buy our stuff. And sometimes people don't connect the two dots a lot of times, but that's what we're doing. So you can find us on Facebook and check all that information out. And until next week, I guess, happy selling.
Right. Bye, everybody.